This is Rydo, and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Friday, September 7th, and we've got 2 more victories on the Americas account we need to do, and that is that. So, let's see. We're just going to ride the Murloc wave and see if we can get victories up to rank 20. We got tons of news, so in an effort to speed up the news, games like Pug Night on Steam are not things I'm really going to cover. That's PUGNITE. It's trying to be a mix between PUBG and Fortnite. It is an asset for a piece of garbage game for 74 cents right now with 25% off. See, that's too much news, that's too much coverage to even give a game like that. Tech Raptor has an article. THQ Nordic has once again expanded and decided to gain the rights in some form or fashion to Kingdoms of Amalur. And I believe this is, they also got the rights to an MMO that was in development. Yeah, they got the Kingdoms of Amalur IP, among other assets, from 38 Studios. 38 Studios, from what the Giant Beastcast was saying, got in trouble for getting funded from government funding and then, I guess, not delivering or misappropriating those funds. The article in TechRaptor says, for those unfamiliar, Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning is a third-person action RPG pitched as a prequel to a then-upcoming MMO called Copernicus, a long and sprawling game. Kingdoms of Amalur Legacy is in its emerging melee combat and unique storyline, so people seem to, at least for the most part, find something enjoyable in Kingdoms of Amalur. It wasn't really just a failed game. You play as a Fateless, a hero who can choose their own destiny in a world controlled by destiny. Yeah, I think I vaguely recall this game being described a few years back. Developed by 38 Studios with funding from the state of Rhode Island. Let's see, so Rhode Island, and published through the EA Partners program. The game made waves. However, the studio's well-documented collapse after games release put a halt to all future plans in the franchise. THQ Nordic has acquired publishing rights to Reckoning and assets from the cancelled MMO. Whether those ever see the light of day in a new product is anyone's guess. There's a quick take here. I played a whole lot of Kingdoms of Amalur Reckoning on release, and even if it was just obviously content from an MMO sliced. Let's see. Even if it was obviously content from an MMO sliced out into a single player experience, it was one of those games that had all the potential in the world. I'm happy to see that it might get a second chance or a remaster with a bad name, at least. I'm also excited to the prospect of what a THQ Nordic booth at E3 looks like in a couple years. Just make sure you guys do Time Splitters first, okay? So yeah, there's definitely more fear, I think, in me than most people for how much THQ Nordic is spending money on acquiring assets for things that it very possibly shouldn't be acquiring. I mean, this is what directly led to the fall of THQ. Originally was the fact that it overspent money. Kingdoms of Amalur, I guess, would be a very interesting game to play, in the sense that it is an idea that I've thought about for MMOs, is like, if people would just take an MMO, take the good storyline elements, and put them in a single player experience, for me, I'd be very happy about that, because I definitely don't want to do the grind as much, and I don't want to interact with other people. But also, they kind of started development from that concept, so like, I don't think you could take the experience from EverQuest or World of Warcraft or anything and turn that into a single player experience as easily as Kingdoms of Amalur did it, because they started knowing that's what they were going to do, and they worked backwards, trying to work towards an MMO, which I imagine at the time when it was in development, MMOs made sense. Nowadays, they definitely don't. Let's see. GameIndustry.biz has an article, Nantworks, that's Nantworks, invests in Daybreak Game Company, creates a new joint publishing division. They're going to develop mobile versions of H1Z1 and EverQuest, setting sights on an esports future. This is more of a financial article than I'm willing to actually read, but that's interesting. H1Z1 is still getting some support when I thought it was getting close to being shut down. That could have been DayZ, however. I confused the two pretty directly. Let's just play that. Let's see, we have a game on Steam called Virtual Reality. Let's see, how much is this? It's 33% off for $10.04, which is about average on Steam. And it seems like it's one of these random assortment of things around a virtual reality place, and you're kind of just flinging things. Well, although this actually looks like you're more sucking up and vacuuming things. You have like these long energy pulses, like almost like proton packs, that you're sucking up and vacuuming everything in the world, or most things in the world. Which I've always thought that would be kind of cool if you were in a world with such an amazingly large destructible environment that you could just destroy everything around you. It'd be cool for about 5 seconds. I don't think the VR idea adds much to that. This is the first game from this developer. 33% off, $10.04, so I think that's a pretty easily skippable game. Next we have a VR game called Dino Trek. Let's see what this looks like. If it has... It's suffering a little bit from dark screenshot syndrome, but it also seems like it's slightly polished. And I could see this being a VR exhibit at a dinosaur museum or a natural history museum, where they would just have kids put on the headsets and see this and think it's really amazing. Oddly, that's kind of where I see almost all VR experiences, is that they make sense at a theme park, they make sense at a museum, they don't make sense when you're telling the average parent to get their 10 to 12 year old a $600 headset with a $1,000 computer connected to it. Dino Trek has its own EULA, which is weird. It's $3.99. It's probably pretty cheap enough that if you did have VR, I think you might consider this. It's probably pretty short, though. Like, I imagine almost all of them. All of these experiences in VR games are really short for what you're paying for. And I absolutely refuse to let VR be a point where the dollar per hour argument becomes invalid. Like, I've heard other people try to make that argument that, oh, just because mainstream video game critics get their games for the most part for free, or they write them off on their taxes at least, that the argument for a regular person who is struggling to maybe afford only 2 or 3 games a year should not look at the idea of how long a game is. Although VR also still falls into that same issue. If you're struggling to buy 3 games, you're probably also not purchasing a VR headset. About to lose. Gamasutra has an obituary for the Square Enix America and European COO Mike Sherlock. Let's see. Phil Rogers, the current CEO of Square Enix America and Europe, paid tribute to his colleague. The quote is, "With tremendous sorrow that we announce the passing of our great friend and colleague Mike Sherlock. Mike was principled and charismatic leader who led by example. He was extremely proud of the progress and success we shared over the years. The entire Square Enix family mourns this tragic loss, and our deepest sympathies are with his family and loved ones." Sherlock has been with Square since 2005, initially joining the company as Senior Vice President of Marketing for Square Enix. Prior to that, he was the executive roles for both Acclaim Entertainment and Sega Europe. So, okay. Again, like most obituaries, there's no indication of what he passed from or how old he is or anything like that. So you're just kind of left wondering. And, moving on, Gamasutra has a blog. It is called KLIULESS ? Gaming Industry ICYMI #1. So I guess that is pronounced Clueless Gaming Industry, in case you missed it, #1. And this is a blog, and what's interesting about this is a blog from one of the rioters, as they call themselves, a riot employee. Let's see. "Hi, my name is Kenny and I work in the revenue strategy at Riot Games. Each week I compile a gaming industry insights newsletter that I share with other rioters, including Riot's senior leadership. This edition marks its inaugural public version that I wish I will publish broadly every week going forward as well. Opinions are mine." See more at this link. And then, so I guess his name is Clue, KLIU. So I get the pun in the name now, but man, you really had to be inside that joke to understand that. So there's a Clues Corner, KLIU'(S), Fortnite the platform, and then there's a paragraph that says business strategy. There's a lot of links here and very little in this section. Revenue strategy, PC console / mobile section, XR, AR, MR, VR, China strategy. So half of these bullet points barely have anything to say about anything, and they seem to just be linking to other articles. So that's kind of weird. Tech entertainment stuff. So it's So it seems like he's doing is he is compiling an internal newsletter, whether asked to or not, so that everybody in Riot is getting their same information from him. Like, think about that for a second. If you worked at McDonald's, that they gave you a McDonald's newsletter that was the information they wanted you to read with the spin they wanted you to have on it. There's an overtime section that seems like it's just more links. Well, I have to applaud this this blog from this writer. At least he managed to not step in it, it seems, so much and cause too much waves. But also, this is not a blog. This is just a link to other articles.
Well played.
Let's see.
Thank you.
We have a game on Steam called Squid vs. Vexus, VEXUS. Looks like it's a MS Paint level platformer, low effort game. 20% off for $3.99. And platformers seem to be coming back into swing for some reason. We have a game on Steam called Them and Us. Says it's an early access action adventure indie violent game. I really do have to wonder about who's putting tags on these games if nobody really is playing them yet. Like, I'm looking at these games from day one. They have to be getting these tags from the developer. There's no other place you could be getting them. Them and Us is, it looks like, stolen assets from Last of Us. Seems like you're playing as Ellie from Last of Us. The name is clearly Last of Us, just changed slightly. Maybe it isn't stolen assets of the girl. It just kind of looks like it is. Is The Last of Us 1 on PC? No. Is The Last of Us 2 coming to PC? I don't believe so. So there is an argument to be made that there is a void in this game. The enemies, compared to the female character you're playing as, look way worse. The thing here though is, if you boil down Last of Us and take out its story and its characters that people love, I don't know if you have anything other than just your standard first person zombie stealth game. And at that level there's plenty of those on Steam. Let's see, this says it's an early access game. It's 10% off for $14.39. Let's see, I kind of want to see. Like, the one review here says, this is actually a decent game. It kind of reminds me of The Last of Us. I haven't run into any bugs and it plays well. See, here's some gameplay. YouTube link. So clearly vote manipulation if I was to guess. Yeah, it's almost in a weird way. You kind of need to ban the one weirdo that is playing all of these new Steam games just to get YouTube videos. It's like you've just put too many comments on here, and your comments are always positive. I bet there's more than one person doing that, but like, I would never suggest people play Them and Us, but I do want to put it on my wish list in the way of watching what happens with the reviews and what happens with this game, because this game almost certainly is going to get taken down. This one's only in English, yet it's labeled from a developer called Tendo Games. That looks like a Chinese developer if I was to guess, or at least the logo looks Chinese-ish to me. Darn it. Let's see. Let's go and kill that one. So yeah, I'll definitely keep an eye on them and us, but certainly it's not gonna come.
You require my assistance?
Next article we have GameIndustry.biz has an article. SoCal, as in South California, regional step-up security measures. Fighting game tournaments tell attendees to arrive early and be prepared to open up their fight sticks. So, particularly in a fighting tournament, I suppose that is a big issue of you're potentially going to be bringing your own fight sticks into the arena. So they're going to make you open them up and make sure that there's nothing hidden in them, which, in all fairness, fight sticks are definitely big enough to hide a small handgun or some other dangerous device pretty easily, or drugs or other objectionable material. They're showing a picture here of a fight stick that's been opened up that has a pretty decent amount of empty space in it. Alright, where are we on the daily quest? We're done with the main account, so now it's time to switch over to the European account. Let's see. There's a quote here: strongly advised to arrive at least 1 to 2 hours before your scheduled tournament broadcast bracket begins.
Welcome to my end.
And see, arguably, I think, while PAX went on without a hitch, as far as I can have heard, PAX West did, I think this is going to be the beginning of how cons just step up security in general. So I need to win 2 games with the priest. Could not trade that daily quest into something better than a 50 gold quest. And we will be playing standard and trying to get ranked up. And sadly, I think that's just how things are going to have to be going forward. Gematsu has an article, Song of Memories for PC version 1.1.0.0 update now available. It now adds English and French support. A localized console version is due out in 2019. Let's see. So, P-Cube, which is apparently a pretty big, like, distributor for visual novel type games, will be distributing the PlayStation 4 version of Song of Memories. It is tagged as a visual novel. Let's watch the English trailer. There's an English and French trailer. Interesting. Going English and French is a little bit weird of choice, because if you're going in Europe, European release, I think the one language you need to get besides English is German, because I think Germany will not allow your game to be released if it's not in German. But I could be wrong about that. That could have been an old rule or just never a rule. I can see English and French certainly, though. Particularly if you've already abandoned any hopes of releasing the game in Germany, then you probably at that point do want to go with French. There's a lot of French-speaking colonies around the world too.
Is someone injured?
So that might make sense. So I'm looking at what this is. It seems like it's kind of your standard visual novel game. Set in a school. I'm not sure that there's actually a romance. This is one of those romance visual novels or something different. They were showing it's fully animated, so the characters have like 3D little gestures they do instead of just being flat characters, which is a nice little improvement, so they sway back and forth. Seems like this is probably a romance experience, and that there is also some level of some kind of virus that breaks out, although that doesn't seem like in this trailer to be. Yeah, it definitely feels like an old school pick your best girl romance type game. Doesn't look bad, really. Song of Memories. Oh, darn it. Google has updated the Chromium browser, by the way, and because of that, I'm in this weird position where the tabs now look a little bit different, and I'm not sure it was for the better or for the worse, honestly.
Do you like to play with fire?
Job's done.
Let's see. Next we have a game on Steam called Ambition, and they say it's a 2D strategy RPG game. What's funny is that it's kind of, it doesn't look like it's an actual RPG Maker engine. It looks like somebody made their own engine and then went with an 8-bit animation style for really no reason other than probably a lack of ability. The bottom of the screen has an attack, spells, items, and 40, which almost certainly makes it feel like it was designed to be on a cell phone, not a console. It looks very, very generic for a game called Ambition. It's also free though, so I guess you can't complain too much. I would think it's almost an inside joke. It's like, yeah, we made this game and we were super ambitious, and then we realized that this didn't work well, and we didn't have the skills, so we're putting it out for free. I can't complain about a game called Ambition though. Like this game, like they put it out for free. You're getting what you paid for. It seems pretty obvious it's not going to be very long or very good.
Amazing.
Of course, there is always this thought that perhaps developers that put out games for free like that are actually hoping that will get people interested in buying their second game that they decide to release. Moving on, Gamasutra has an article. New LA Times owner makes big esports investment into Daybreak Games. So that is the Los Angeles-based billionaire Dr. Patrick Soon-Shiong. He's been making waves in the Southern California with his recent purchase of the LA Times. Now his company Nantworks is acquiring a controlling interest in a new joint venture with Daybreak Games Company, the maker of EverQuest and H1Z1. We already talked about this article, but it definitely puts it in a different spin and makes a little bit more sense when you hear that it's a new millionaire who purchased the LA Times that's doing it. Alright. Just gonna heal this and return. I'm gonna close that article because we'll have to just see how all that works. Is this game in English? No, this is a Chinese only game. So some bunch of Chinese characters and then dash water underscore clock.
What to do? What to do?
Yeah, so I can't really talk about that game, so close that tab. GameIndustry.biz has an article, GameStop sales slip as retailer continues exploring the sale. Collectibles and console hardware are bright points as the company posts 24.9 million loss in the second quarter where revenues dipped 2.4%. So yeah, people just not buying games from GameStop. Which inherently this very possibly will come back and bite us in the butt after GameStop goes out of business, and the only place you can get a physical copy is going to end up being through Amazon.com at a major markup. Let's see. I need to be able to double an attack. Again, that's a financial story though, so yeah, GameStop's sales are slipping. You really would have thought that GameStop,
Well played.
had they had the money, would have bought some of the inventory from Toys R Us. They would have bought some of the stores from Toys R Us, and they would have said, look, we're gonna expand out, we're gonna take the well-performing store locations, and we're gonna move all of our GameStop stores in an area to one big store, which is what I would have liked to see them do. Let's see.
I don't have enough mana.
In the train. Gemetsu has an article, Labyrinth of Refrain, Coven of Dusk Puppets trailer. So it's a new trailer. Labyrinth of Refrain, Covens of Dusk is due out for the PS4, Switch, and PC via Steam on September 18th in North America and September 21st in Europe. Let's just quickly jump through what this is. It says it's a unique RPG adventure. To me, it looks like it's pretty much a dungeon crawler with anime characters, which maybe the story, maybe the characters will keep you a little bit more interested, but I think for the most part this looks pretty boring, as most dungeon crawler games do. At least when the Japanese make a bad quality game, they still try to put some polish on it even when it isn't, when they know it's not that good. That, and then that, and then that.
My magic will tear you apart.
Gamasutra has an article, Get a Job, Spatula Land is hiring for a lead technical artist. That's Spatialand. Maybe that's Spatial Land. The job is in Venice, California, if you're interested. PC Gamer has an article, The Inner Friend is a first-person horror game about childhood fears. Let's see if this article talks about when this game is coming out. Inner Friend is available today on Steam and coming soon to the Humble Store. Interesting that they're advertising it that way, since you know PC Gamer has like a advertising agreement with the Humble Store. Alright. So I'm seeing it started by showing a kid playing Metroid, and then this kid sees this magical crack on the wall and walks towards it, and then a fraction like porcelain doll of the kid walks out of the kid, sort of as if his soul left his body and now he's in this other area. Come on, give me a spell. Give me something. I'm not sure I believe that this game is much of anything other than a bunch of like a horror game asset flips. It's got some polish and it's got a fancy trailer on it, but I don't know how much of this really turns into something else. Now the porcelain body is like holding the hand of a spectral body. Well, that definitely is a game I'd like to see somebody else review. Just see how this plays and see what the reviews are on this. What's funny is you can't get to its Steam page. So I'd have to click here to go to its website, and I'd have to click from its website to go to the Steam page because PC Gamer is trying to sell the game on Humble Bundle Store, and it's not even out there yet. This is from a developer called PlayMind, who apparently has made nothing else. Inner Friend is 10% off for $13.49. So definitely a game to wishlist, game to keep an eye on. You know, as I was scheduling Layers of Fear, a game I really did not enjoy or find entertaining at all, I've noticed that it had a pretty high Metacritic rating, and so I kind of have to wonder to myself if perhaps I shouldn't play horror games since they're never really going to work on me or make me scared, and if they don't work on me on that level, maybe they're just not going to be able to ever entertain me too much. And in that, I'm saying actual horror games where you're supposed to be scared, not things like Resident Evil where you're supposed to be empowered to shoot zombies. That is something I should think about, but I also have plenty of horror games probably already, so maybe I just won't buy any more of them. We have a game on Steam called Galaxy Champions TV. It says it's a bullet hell. I'd say it's a twin stick shooter bullet hell game, sort of like Smash TV. Yeah, Smash TV clone. Has single player or split screen, but no online multiplayer. Which might be a problem, might not be.
Right away.
They want 15% off for $5.94. The art style is low pixel resolution because you have to be zoomed out. That's one of the things I liked about The Binding of Isaac, is that while it is a top-down twin-stick shooter game, it's not too much built around being around a room full of bullets or full of enemies, and there's only a few instances in which that isn't the case. Usually there's either a boss in a room or 4 or 5 enemies in a room, and you just have to deal with them and just that. I don't see anything about Galaxy Champions TV, which is really just, I imagine, trying to be like Smash TV. Yeah, I don't see anything here that would cast catch my eye, so I'm going to close that tab. Play this. In a turn. So far, I have not been filtered out of any game I've seen on Steam according to their new listings. So I'm not sure if their website is fully developed as much as people seem to think. I'm seeing a lot of instances of them saying, not them. Let's use an actually proper descriptor. I'm seeing a lot of the mainstream media saying that these new filters have been implemented, whereas the actual article is more phrased around, this is what we're working on, this is what's coming soon. Like, it never really said that an actual rollout has happened, as far as I understand. Let's see, we already talked about the inner friend, so we can close that tab. We already talked about this, so we can close that tab. Maybe I just have a bunch of repeated articles, tabs. Maybe I have less news to talk about than I thought. Should I just not play anything? I think I should just not play anything.
Beware the shadow.
Gamasutra has an article. Xbox is testing voice commands for the Xbox One via Amazon Alexa and Cortana, which would be slightly interesting. I imagine this is basically just replacing what the Kinect used to be able to do. So I imagine you're only really using it to say, you know, turn on Netflix, turn on Hulu. It's probably not anything more than that. Let's see. It allows Xbox owners to turn on their system or off, launch games and apps, control media, grab screen captures, start and stop mixer broadcasts, and more. For example, a player can tell Amazon Echo or Cortana enabled devices to start a specific game, and their Xbox One will power on, log them in, and open the named application. Xbox has more details on his blog. And see, that was the one thing I thought of that kind of made some sense. If I was going to make any changes or improvements to the current existing system of controllers, the thing I would like to see them probably change is the having a microphone in the controller that had some noise reduction, so that it could hear you talk and not particularly include the audio of whatever is playing out of the speakers. So I still wouldn't be surprised if something like that does eventually get implemented into a controller. And I died. Alright. Tech Raptor has an article. Steamwatch - game developer feuds with several YouTubers and threatens legal action again. So I've been watching this guy on YouTube by the name of Sid Alpha, and he seems to have replaced, in my mind, what Jim Sterling used to do. Now that Jim Sterling really does nothing, period, like nothing of interest, talking about wrestling and his obsessions versus really talking about anything else. Inherently, I guess Sid Alpha could just get really obsessed about 4 or 5 issues and stop being more varied, and I would have the same problem with him as I do Jim Sterling, but whatever. This article goes on to say, anyways, I was saying I started watching Sid Alpha and he has been covering this story. The head of an indie video game company, LaserChain LLC, has sent legal threats and copyright violation notice to YouTube regarding a small YouTuber's video criticizing LaserChain's LLC's July release, LaserChain. The YouTuber in question, I guess free shout out to the YouTuber, goes by the handle Little Lord Rusty, and he currently has almost 400 subscribers on YouTube. So he's just not a big guy. I'm gonna click on him. He has an ongoing video series called Quality Control, in which LLR obtains games on Steam and does first impression video critiques, trying to shift through the ever-growing catalog of Steam to find good indie games. He made one of his signature videos on LaserChain, and he says he wasn't a fan of the game. He says, and to say he wasn't a fan of the game would be putting it lightly. Let's see, I'm just gonna heal and in return. LLR criticized the game for having dated graphics, poor and basic menus, poor PC controls, and how the game lacked any form of meaningful tutorial. LLR also posted a negative Steam user review for the title. After the posting of both the video review and written review, it ended up catching the eyes of the head of the LaserChain LLC, going by the Steam username Shadowglyph. Now, the thing about this game is that it's supposedly working through some kind of blockchain currency you can earn. They say you can earn crypto in the game, or the developer does. How any of that works is not particularly clear. But whatever, like, doesn't seem like the game is gonna make it anywhere anyways. The developer, as I understood it, here's the article part. I skipped some paragraphs. The email states that the developer believes Little Lord Rusty has defamed the company by saying that he believed that the crypto miner allegations were false. So the allegations that it's not a crypto miner, the developer is saying, is defamation, which is really just backwards thinking. The quote is that it was still, quote, putting the thought into the customer's mind as the first thing they read. So you can't even back somebody up, you can't even agree with the developer's own statement without this developer at least trying to do a DMCA copyright, which you can't claim copyright in DMCA on YouTube or anywhere else because you felt you were defamed. If you felt you were defamed, you'd have to sue them in civil court, and you would lose horribly in this case. Let's see, it seems like the developer is trying to use libel laws in the UK, which doesn't matter because YouTube is in the United States. So I believe the developer is all I believe Little Lord Rusty is also in the United States. So I mean, yeah. It wouldn't be the first company to try and cherry pick UK defamation law. So this story just goes on and on. The copyright complaint filed to YouTube was ignored by YouTube. As I understand it, I'm basically just telling you from my knowledge. I could be getting some of this wrong because this article is just really, really long. TechRaptor is doing some real journalism here. Here's a paragraph that says, there's also talk from the admin trying to encourage positive reviews out of players, otherwise the game's currency will lose value, and how it will not be able to sell itself as being a way to generate money towards players. Which, I mean, at that point, that sounds manipulative.
Separating the pain.
At the bottom, they do mention YouTuber Sid Alpha. So he is making some waves here. So yeah, in the end, I believe I actually probably covered this game, Laser Chain, and probably said it didn't look that interesting. If it's on my wish list somehow, I'll make an effort if I ever remember to remove it from my wish list. I'm not going to waste my time playing games from people who do DMCA takedowns. That's just not worth my time. So let's see. Let's look at Little Lord Rusty's YouTube channel. He's now up to 534 subscribers, so I can have the honor of subscribing to his channel to be 535. Whereas I think I'm at like 290, and I thought I was at 299, so I must have lost some.
I must consider.
See, I'm looking at his quality control advertisement on this page. The latest one is the one that barely even has it has 499 views for Laser Chain. So
I wonder.
like barely anybody even saw his video. That's very interesting that somebody would be that way. But it's also pretty typical at this point too, where that happens. Let's do this.
I comply.
I ran out of time. So he also played LGBT versus Russia Battlegrounds. He also played To the Core. It's a game I actually want to check out because it was made by students. A lot of these games that he's covered are pretty bad ones that I've seen before, or ones I've just never heard of.
Is someone injured?
Both of which kind of make some sense. Alright. Darn it. Screw that up. Alright.
I comply.
There. And there. And there.
Job's done.
End the turn. Moving on, we have a game called Puzzle for Smart Dogs, which seems like it's just a very simplistic puzzle game. You know what that previous story doesn't do, by the way? When I see people try to shut down like criticism of video games. The one thing it doesn't do is shake me in any way and make me want to stop criticizing video games. It just does not happen.
I'm out of cards.
Wanted to play that at some point.
I comply.
Let's go and just get rid of these cards because I'm gonna start taking fatigue. Yeah, puzzles for smart dogs. 35% off for $1.29. Not worth it. Made from a developer who's made a whole bunch of games that are very similar, just low effort games. Extremely low effort games, I would say. Your Gamer has a article, Batman Return to Arkham is the most disappointing Xbox One X upgrade we've seen. Okay. I'm not sure I'm gonna play any of the Batman series at this point. That final one is really bad, and it didn't feel like it's ever going to be fixed in any way, so I think we just have to move on. And let's see. It's not going to do anything, so we'll do that.
What is my purpose?
And
I comply.
just keep on attacking.
Job's done.
Yeah, I guess you could read the article if you care about Batman Return to Arkham. That's definitely not something that Xbox needs, though. They definitely don't need their Xbox One X upgrades to turn out to be disappointments. If they're gonna be disappointments, you might as well just not upgrade. Okay. Can I win here? 3 damage to all other minions.
I comply.
Meddlesome insects. Meddlesome insects.
Play all these cards for no reason. I have a game on Steam called Cool Head. Doesn't look very interesting. It's just badly animated platformer of some sort. 15% off for $3.39. And I think in an effort to just speed up, I'm gonna start going through these games a little bit longer, quicker, too. Because we still have a lot. The game, The Pizza Boy Who Saved the World, which I believe is a full motion video game, or no, it's not a full motion video game. It's actually it's like photographs added. Let's see. I'm not sure. Looking at what this other games that have been developed by this developer is Cat, President of More Perfect Union, The Award, Steve, Duology, The Beard in the Mirror. Yeah, these seem like troll games. Even if they're polished troll games, they still seem like troll games enough for me not to really want to play them. So I'm gonna skip The Pizza Boy Who Saved the World. I also feel like this game got announced on Steam and then is either out now and I've seen it twice and I really should have only seen it once, or something else has happened. Also, what have I been playing? Because I don't feel like I've won once with the priest. No, I haven't. That's no good. Well, that's gonna be it where I end this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below in the description box. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.